Large-scale maps. Also on the key to map pages is the large-scale maps. This is indicated in a red box in the middle of the 2 pages. Inside this red box is Central London. Central London has a lot of information and could potentially have stuff missing inside the small-scale maps where it is too small to fit it in. So what they've done is created large-scale maps to show this missing information and make things a lot easier and clearer for you to see. The pages on the small-scale map that cover large-scale are pages 69, 70, 71, 89, 90, and 91. I will show you what the large scale looks like on the small scale maps in a minute. But down the bottom here, you will see it says pages 214 to 231. These are the pages of the large scale. Large-scale maps. As central London is so busy with different streets, buildings, one-way roads, etc., it can be difficult to see what's going on when looking at the normal map pages. We are using the example on page 90. This is what you will see. If we zoom into a section and use Oxford Street as our point of interest, you will see even when you zoom in, it is still very hectic and busy. It has many one-way roads, restricted access, and buildings, making it difficult for you to plan your journey. And if you are not careful, you could lose marks in the exam. So how do we use large-scale maps to help us out with this? Using pages 90 and 91 again, you can see there is a faint red line going across the 2 pages. On this line, there is also some red boxes with numbers in them. And above the red boxes are some red arrows. This is the indication for the large-scale map pages, and these are the large-scale page numbers. The red arrows are indicating that anything above them will be covered in that large-scale page. So if we're still using Oxford Street as our point of interest, you would assume that page 227 or potentially 228 or 229 may cover Oxford Street. This is not the case. Even if you was to go to 219 or 225, it would still not show the large scale for Oxford Street. So even though this is a good indication to find the large scale for an area, sometimes it's not very accurate. Also, while we are here, I'd just like to point out the other faint red line that's going round in a circle on the 2 pages. This line is indicating central London and the congestion charge zone. So do be careful when distinguishing between the 2, as they are very similar in colour. So, how do we find Oxford Street in the large-scale maps if we cannot use the line on the page? The best way to go about it is using the index. You could go to the large-scale map section and skim through all the large-scale pages, but that will take up time. So the quickest way is to use the index. If we find Oxford Street in the index, you will see this. W1 is the postcode, and the other information next to it is regarding the grid reference and the page numbers. The information outside the bracket is the information for the large scale maps. So you have the grid reference 3G and the page number 221. The information in the brackets, 44JB and 90, is the grid and page number for the small scale maps. So when we go to page 221, you may be able to see Oxford Street straight away as it is here. If you are still struggling, you can of course use the grid reference, which again is 3, which you will search for down the side of the page. And then you head across to G at the top of the page. And when you combine the two, you'll see the start of Oxford Street just here. As you can see, the large scale maps are enlarged versions of the small scale maps, and you can see the information a lot clearer. When you turn the page to 222, you will see that Oxford Street continues at the top of the page. You can also see the one-way roads and how much clearer and easier they look to see. This will help you a lot, especially during your route planning, so you know exactly which direction to go in and making sure you don't go against any one-way arrows in the exam. Large-scale reference page. On page 213, you will come across the large-scale reference page. At the top, it will have a little diagram of all the pages in the large scale, and you'll see the faint red line going around indicating the congestion charge zone. In the reference section, it will cover all of the road colours, buildings, symbols, and what the stations look like. In the large scale maps, you will see that the stations look a lot like they do in real life. They're colourful and quite detailed. But in the small scale map reference page, you will see that the train stations are not colourful and they look a lot more simplified, especially the underground. The reason for this is in the large scale section, there is a lot more space to have these bigger icons that are colourful and easier to see. Whereas in the small scale maps, it's very hectic and busy, so they needed to create a small icon that's simplified to make it easier to distinguish.